Hi, this is Paul Roberts of Conscious Counseling 101. This video is going to seem way out there. I'm taking a real chance with this because people are going to think I'm nuts. But I'm going to say it anyway because I believe it. And even if it doesn't happen, the things that are actually happening now that I'm going to talk about are actually happening if it's not even for the purpose of what I'm going to say it's for. But I'm going to tell you what I say it's for, and then we can talk about whether or not it's really happening. But what I'm going to say it's for is I've done everything I can. Well, not everything I can, but everything that I feel I can afford and chosen to do to slow down my contribution. You know how some people have a carbon footprint, they want to make less of a carbon footprint? I've done everything I can to slow down my contribution to the things that are going to be required for the beast or the Antichrist to take over. Yeah, I probably lost you right there. Click off. But if you're going to stay on, let me tell you what I'm doing. And I'm doing it, and it's real, even if there is no beast, there is no Antichrist, there is no God, all those things, and there's no end of the world, everything's going to be totally work out different than it ever has been written down or anybody's ever thought it is. But I'm just telling you that in my real life, I'm actually doing these things. And you could do them too. And you'd have an effect on these systems to the extent that others joined with you. I have, ever since beepers came out, I have taken to every modern technology thing that I can, as slowly as I can, especially in the areas of things that don't need to happen. Whereas at the same time, I've taken everything that I really need to have happen, and I've had to embrace it, unfortunately. But I haven't run towards it. I've just done it because I have to. So the first one, the real first big one, is the computer. I got out of art school. I was classically trained as an artist. And the very first thing I realized as soon as I graduated from college, and I started writing cover letters, trying to get work and things like that. And I needed something beyond a typewriter so I'd look better. I went out and said, okay, let's consider a word processor. Now, I'd already been correcting papers and such for my professor friend in college. So I'd been working on a computer for several years. But it didn't dawn on me how fast it was going to replace the things that I've learned all my life, and how much all the things that I've striven for throughout my entire life and learned were going to be available in the hands of anybody that would have to want to have it for just as effective as me with all my training in a shorter period of time with much less cost into the hands of almost everybody. So in order to save money and to do what I thought was the best use of my money, I bought a computer. My wife and I decided to buy a computer instead of a word processor. It was more money. And for a while there, I had to keep on buying new computers every couple of years. But it did everything the word processor did, plus everything else. And of course, the whole world, as we all know, history, has gone that way. This was in 1990 or so. So everything's computer. Now everybody's got a computer in their pocket. Okay. So I embraced that, and the first thing I did was I relearned everything that I had learned as an artist all over again. I realized I can't do the techniques that I've been classically trained in, the classic art that I thought was going to be the few that have struggled and tried hard to learn these things would do illustration and use their art in those ways. So the first thing I did was I relearned all the techniques from conventional to computer. That's the first thing I did. Now, we're going to have to skip forward a little bit. First thing was when there was a fingerprint thing for the bank, I said, okay, I'm leaving that bank. They require a fingerprint in order to bank there. I don't believe in that. That's one of the things. Gosh, I'm going to have to brainstorm to remember what these things all were. But now, with the search engines and the phones and the information and the mass data collection, the mega way that things can be controlled and known about people, and patterns can be calculated, and what people think and do and how they live and whatnot can be looked at in a greater detail. and we have the information of everything that's known by man, that's allowed to be known, that's not like covered up by the government or whatever like that, is now available to us. And things that are startling to us cause us a greater emotional stress level curve, because we've got anything we could possibly call up coming into us. I, in my personal life, have kept the computer there, and I've allowed my children to use the computer, but I've set up special parameters. I explained to them it's kind of like gunpowder. When gunpowder came out, you would treat it in the most respectful way you possibly could. You would teach them how to use it, but keep them back from it until they're responsible and able to use it. Computer the same way. I've explained to them, one of the reasons why you just can't use the computer without my assistance is because you'll find things on there that could be more detrimental to you than good, and then you'll have a difficult time of dealing with it and adjusting with it at these tender ages that you are. So each year, as you go up, you'll have more access with parental guidance and things like that until finally you have unfettered access. And so my son, he doesn't have a computer in his room. We use the computer here. He could search anything he wants. He uses the computer. He must use the computer for school. He couldn't get, I don't think, oh no, I'm sure if we pressed it, we could. I'm not sure he could get a graduation. It's definitely not good grades and go on to the career and the schooling that he wants to go on to without the computer and without the use of internet. So he sits here and he can use this in any way now that he wants to. We don't allow computers in the bedrooms, even though the televisions that are smart TVs could access the computer if they wanted to. We don't allow the cell phones in the bedroom. My son has a flip phone. My daughter has a phone that's not connected. If she needs to make a call from school, she uses another phone. If she needs to text somebody or likes to have fun with that kind of thing, she uses her mother's phone. If she wants to make movies or things like that, she can use her phone in all those other ways that a phone is good for, besides texting and having the call ability. I've taught them, try to teach them, because I don't take them and subject them to the formalized church. If you've seen some of my other videos, you've seen why I see so many harms in there. Some of the alarmists and things like this. And you're like, well, you're talking about the same things. Yes, I am talking about the same things. But we have a higher level requirement of ourselves when we talk about these things to come off. Not so much how we come off, it's not important, but I guess to ourselves, how we present these things to ourselves, to have credibility with ourselves when we know the world largely won't get any of this stuff. They don't want to hear it, and it's like the Chicken Little thing. We have to have a rational inner voice that comes from good psychological, philosophical thinking, analyzation, and stuff like that. I'm one of the highest governors on this planet of what being said has validity or not. So I'm going to hold myself to the highest, most standards that I can find. And I'll go searching out there and trying to find other people that have high standards and try to learn what I can from them. But suffice it to say, whether you believe me or not, I do. This is my ultimate goal is to not be delusional. My ultimate goal is to not fall victim for something because it's written down and prophesied or generally believed by a certain sects. But I do see these things offering escapism, offering great tools, offering great initial ideas and helps. The dot-com boom, of course, that started it all off, and now everybody has the phone. What I at first, for a while there, I thought, oh, this is stupid. All people are doing is dumbing themselves down. They're using their thumbs and just blah, blah, blah. They don't want to think about anything else or the greater concepts or everything. And I guess I was not as heightened conscious as I thought I was, just for being different and not being that way. I guess I was. I still had to fathom, well, what does this all mean? What does this all mean? What people are gravitating to this? I can hold back and not do it, but what am I actually achieving? I guess one of the things I'm achieving is to ponder it harder, to think about it harder, to not embrace it. To the extent that I don't embrace it, I'm keeping my carbon footprint, or I'm keeping my contribution, just this one single individual's contribution, away from it. And out of 7 billion people, or however many we have, I know there are very few people that are going to think like that. And so it's not, it's irrational for me to think that what I'm doing is going to help in any way, but I'm still doing it. Why? Because the greater why isn't in the how it might be affecting. The greater why is in the human subconscious, the human, what do we need to strive to be? Looking at the forest, not at the trees, which are all these high-tech things and the internet and the way it goes together. Those are still trees, even though it seems huge. It seems like the forest, but they're still trees. The forest really is in the soul of the person, the feeling and the reaching out of it. We could get encapsulated by what we do and become trapped and lessened. I think of the movie Real Genius, where they had weapons in space, and the guy that was making the laser realized, oh, look, I made the laser. We got to get that back. We're going to shoot people down there. You know, it's a funny movie with Val Kilmer. You know, then there was the movie Terminator 2. Oh shoot! Look what the guy says. Look what I'm going to do if I go on this course. And this guy from the future came, showed him, okay, I'm not going to do that. Well, it's kind of like in those veins. But it's not really science fiction. We're actually doing things in reality that are changing and shaping our world and the way people are in the world. Like, for instance, soft drinks and fast food, McDonald's, Coke, things like that. They've made our world, and smoking and alcohol and drug use, have made our world where we're more lethargic. We gain weight. We're not as healthy. We're not having as quality of food as we could have. And we're, as a consequence, as a labor force, we don't do as much. We can't do as much. We're not as intelligent. We've kept the education down for our populace and haven't taught them as much as we possibly could. We've taught them how to survive, maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. We've taught them things that are very important, like you can learn. I'm going to teach you how to learn. Okay? But what we haven't done is we haven't taken and found a way to make each person realize what the importance of human significance and their purpose in their life is. And they've become so encapsulated by these things that they walk through life with blinders on. And they've walked away from religion because science has gotten so huge. And if they are still with religion, they're embracing it harder and harder and harder. And the two opposing things are fighting with one another, as if one's got the answer and one doesn't, and whoever's going to win is going to do it. And what we're doing is we're flushing away so much of our humanity by these entrapments, and when artificial intelligence comes, if it does, even if it doesn't come, we have these things that hold us down, that can equalize us. Where, you know, we really don't need to keep building and making America great like Donald Trump and building bigger skyscrapers and things like this. We could do it and keep putting people to work and the infrastructure and whatnot, rebuilding that and everything, and keep on having the population going up. But we know that the Earth's not getting any bigger, and we know that the resources aren't getting any more. So really, when that process happens, what's actually going to happen is whoever is in control of the things, the resources and such, and the ability and the means and the money, and they're going to ultimately shape what people are seeing and doing, and people are going to slowly lose the grasp. And we talk about how the middle class is going down. People are going to slowly lose the grasp of being able to control and master their own lives, and our low end is going to become way bigger. And all we can do is falsify, put people to work. But when we do this, we're really only the people that are existing. They're just going to keep on existing and making more, and eventually we're going to become more and more and more like a country that is very challenged outside of our borders. That, you know, it's okay that we keep them out there and they're going to serve us well, and those that are in this country do really well with their excesses and things like that. But at the same time, how unhappy are they that they build up ways to thrust onto us and say, I don't like the fact that you're the master and you're going to tell me how to be, and you're the land of plenty and everything. What's happened is we've got so much recipe for disaster here. And what is happening is all these technological advances are making automated systems the way things are going to be in the future. Nobody has the ability to eat from their own foods. Nobody has the ability to make things happen in the ways they used to happen. Now they're all logged on to all these different intricate systems. We think we're gaining right now. At this point, we're gaining because we can go and find the lowest price on whatever it is. And so, whoa, we're better because technological helped us. But what happened is, it's like if you raise the minimum wage, well, you're not going to really, that's not going to help anything because then you have more money, but then everything else is going to adjust. So in the technological advancement, all the things that you're giving away, all the privacies that you're giving away, all the human data collection that you're giving away, so that you can have now, are all being collected for some unknown purpose. And when I say unknown, but also unfathomed. I mean, really, we know it's going to be important to be able to hand a leader. This is the documentation we have on megadata on humankind and the general census of population here and different things like this. And it's going to be a great gift to give to one. Well, who is that leader going to be? Well, it's going to be a lot of different leaders as we go along. But the more things get automated and the more things get to be where we have to serve them, like the Matrix, I think it was the third Matrix, where they go down to the machine room and say, well, I could turn these off, but then how would we live? How would we breathe? The more things get like that, then the more you cannot change them. And this could lead to the end, because what is prophesied, without sounding Chicken Little, I mean, I'm trying to give you bases here. What is prophesied is that one entity will come, and the setup for all these things can be controlled by that one entity. And so the more we make the one entity have the control over that, whatever that entity is. I mean, yeah, some people have called it the beast. Some people have said, that the Antichrist, things like that. But we are actually, and whether you believe in religion or not, this could happen even if God doesn't exist. Okay? If religion doesn't exist, if there's no such thing as Jesus or the Antichrist, this could still happen, because whatever entity comes that has a play over all these governing systems, whatever that entity is, if we surrender all control and management to them, then we'll be subservient. Every single one of us will be subservient to that thing. And in essence, what we will have done is we will have made the thing that we say, that I started the video off with saying, well, how crazy this guy is. We'll have made what we feared the reality. And so you don't have to call it the Antichrist. You don't have to call it the beast. You don't have to call it the end times. But if you make it that, it still is. You don't have to believe in God. It's the things that we were talking about, those that said we did believe in God, and this is what we're sharing because we do in the Word and the Scripture. It still is that way. See? So I like to reach people on a level that they don't shoo me away. I mean, I'm not going to be Mr. Popular because all I'm is a face here talking to the computer. But what am I saying? I'm saying that the very things that so many people are arguing about are still going to happen, and the places that they need to be and what they're becoming are happening right now, with nobody's ability to know how to shut them off, with everybody running towards them and embracing them. And so when the end comes, if some entity gets control of that, the end will come like it was foreseen in the beginning. Even if you don't believe that that was a prophecy, even if you don't believe in God or any of the ways that those things came, it could still happen that way anyway. So I try to make my children see that these things are real and to respect these things. And in my personal life, I've done everything I can to stay back. Stupid things that make my life harder. Now, I don't believe in suffering. I don't believe I have to prove by my suffering, even though I carry my cross daily, like Jesus said. But I don't believe that we have to suffer or do works to show who we are or what we're doing or what our beliefs are. But inadvertently, when a belief of mine becomes implemented in life, well then, if it's an actual put your things in the kingdom of heaven and rather than here thing, and I don't embrace fully the things of this world, well then what happens is I actually go down a peg or two or more. And the more I don't embrace, the lower I get. And I can see that those that can hold on the longest to the buttons and controls and learn these new things are going to last the longest. And those that don't keep up and aren't flexible and don't go towards these things are going to fall first. But just like we say, hey, you better pay attention to the bees, the birds and the bees. If something happens to them, we're going to be next. If we don't pay attention to these things and realize this, um, then we're going to make the wrong decision. So I've held back, and in the holding back, I've done things that may or may not be logically smart. I've done things like not using Google, but the other ones are probably the same. I've done things like not using Exxon because they still didn't care about the Valdez oil spill, and they're still trying to do things about that now. Who can fathom all those things? So I mean, I'm not going to go there and try to argue those things. I've done things like not get a Gmail account. I still use YouTube because I started it before Google was owning it. It's so hard to just live anymore without your life touching all these things. I don't subscribe to any of the user agreements, even though I have to sign. I heard somebody say 21 days worth of your life every year if you've read and understood all those factors. I'm still clicking those off, living as if I agreed to them. I don't, even though I use Facebook, I don't subscribe to the systems of it. I don't do the likes, for instance. I try not to use all the buttons and controls. Stupid! Everybody says, what an idiot! You can't get anywhere with it. Yeah, I know. I have voluntarily stepped out of that realm. The comment systems on Google. When Google took over YouTube, I abandoned the comment systems. Okay? I don't use that. So now my ability to gain likes, hits, and camaraderie with others won't elevate my videos as high. I'm aware of that. I know how stupid it is. I know how everybody is going to say, you're the idiot. You're an absolute idiot. And I would be if it wasn't that I believe there are forces at play that are more important and greater than the ones I would have gained with by making different choices than what I did. So faith actually does, in a way, make me suffer. Because when my road takes a path that it wouldn't have taken if it weren't for my faith and my actions, and I see myself going down, I can track the progress of mankind because I know where I'm coming from. I'm not deluding myself. I know what I'm doing, and mine is a steadfast way. By monitoring my own way, I can monitor what's happening. I can't have all the answers, but I can show you that the direction is going the way that I'm talking about. And even if, I always say I just believe in God. I don't know that God exists. I always say I just believe in Jesus. I don't know that he exists. I tell my children, Jesus' teachings are the highest teachings I can think of, but I don't know that he exists. But I can't find any higher level of teaching or any level of teaching that would not be harmful to any other person either. And I'm not going to just pull this stuff out of the air and arrogantly say, I know best. 7 billion other people are trying to do that. So I subscribe to these things as if they were real, not knowing they're real, having faith that they probably are, but also at the same time seeing the all-powerful nature of what I'm talking about to where they are going to be real, whether they are or not. What prophetic power does that have to show us that it's so cyclical, that it goes all the way around and around and around, whether or not the base anchorage thing that you would have anchored it all to exists or not. Not many people are talking like that. Most people are atheists, or one religion sect or another, or true zealots, or oblivious, they don't care about it, they don't think about it. But not many people are taking the approach that it doesn't matter whether it's this, or this, it's still amounting to this. Does anybody notice that type of thing that I'm talking about here today? Are you still watching, or did you lose me right off the bat when I said what I was going to talk about? Did I lose you right off the bat when I said what I was going to talk about? If you're still here now, did any of the things I say make any sense? I'm sure you've thought of some of them before. Maybe there's some of them you haven't. A lot of it sounds like rambling unless you really concentrate and think. It's very hard for me to put these things in words. It's very hard for me to put them in words for myself on a daily basis. Rest assured, my perpetual state of prayer is constantly engaged with them. But it sounds like in my mind. And there's like tent poles And there's circumstances in life that I can look at for correlation and see whether or not there's any validity or soundness to any of the ideas that I have. But they're ideas. They can't be known. See my trouble? See why I'm reaching out? You see why I'm doing what I'm doing and who I am and why and what I'm trying to accomplish? It's a very, very, very difficult mission, life purpose, reaching out for that. But it's not difficult to see these things I'm talking about encapsulating man and trapping him. So even if you don't believe any of the larger things I'm talking about, like where it could have come from, prophetic things, God, Jesus teachings, things like that, how do you cope with how it's all going to come down? How do you cope with what you do on a daily basis and say it's okay? My friends, my acquaintances on the internet, they all tell me I'm an idiot. They tell me, just, man, get Gmail, man, get a different server, man, do things different, man. You know, use these social media things and learn how to use the bells and whistles on them, man. You're a dinosaur, man. You're lost cause. The mentality that they describe to me with their words shows me that mentality has to be the general populist mentality, or it wouldn't be allowed to exist so easily and so embraceably. My daughter, she loves these things. I tell her about these things. She doesn't understand it. She loves me, and so she tries to listen. She tries to be mutually respectful like I am. Maybe one day she will get it. Maybe one day she won't. My son gets it a little bit. But I don't know. I can't get into somebody else's mind. But again, as I've been saying in many of these videos recently, if there's anything that I'm saying that resounds in your mind at all, even if it needs a lot of adjustment, you think, oh, this guy's a little bit off, but he's got a few things. I don't care. I'm not going to be offended. You know, if you make an effort to say, look, I want to go somewhere with what you're talking about, but you need some adjustment or whatever, and you're going to be constructively criticizing me, I have no problem with that. When we were in art school, we would put our pictures up on the wall and we'd stand there for 4 hours talking about every little aspect of them. There's no offense. What the offense is, you want to know what the offense is? And only you can know this, because I'm not going to know unless you come to me. The only offense is you listen to this, you think there might be something, you'd like to say something maybe, but you don't. That's the offense. To see another human being in front of you struggling like this, looking and searching like this, but to not care enough to do something uncomfortable that's more than a click, to not care enough to get involved and make yourself known, that's offensive. And that's happening because people are watching these things and they're not enough, unless it specifically talks to their various need that they even ask for, aren't making themselves more available. Now, I've only had some experiences where I know that's the case. All the rest of them might be clicks and turnoffs. Clicks and turnoffs. I don't know. But if you are hearing this now and are seeing and hearing what I'm saying, and only you know, that would be offensive. I call upon you to be a higher human being if you find yourself being spoken to me right now, being spoken to right now by me, and find yourself in that situation. I'm speaking to you. If that is the case and you see all those things about you in the way that I've just described them, you would be wrong to not reach out, to not reach back on some level, even if it's corrective. Because this is a rare voice. If it ceases to be motivated to speak, that little measure that I might be holding back won't even be. And we'll just get where we're going faster. If you believe where we may be going has any correlation whatsoever about what I've talked about, double your efforts. Add to what I'm doing for the principle only, if needed. But maybe possible results at least a pacification and a sharing with one another as we go through it. That's the very least that we can gain. Maybe insight. I don't know. Tell me what you think.